This next segment is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for small businesses, you want to find a quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn just isn't about a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions may apply.
And with that, let's welcome in the Hall of Fame beat writer for the Cleveland Browns. It is Mary Kay Cabot. Mary Kay, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
We are doing well. Mary Kay, we have to ask you about what we started the show with, and that is the latest on the Brandon Aiyuk rumors. The last thing we heard this morning on ESPN was that Aiyuk doesn't necessarily want to be a member of the Cleveland Browns, is unwilling to sign an extension here. I'm curious, have you heard the same thing that we've heard Kimberly Martin report in that regard to the next step in this Brandon Aiyuk saga?
You know, I have been hearing similar things to that for the past several days, but it never got to the point where I felt comfortable writing that because things are not always exactly what they seem. So I think I wanted to proceed with a little bit of caution on that. And the other thing to note is, even though it does seem like there's momentum with Pittsburgh and he really wants to play there and he always has, if you remember back, Deshaun Watson didn't want to play in Cleveland until all of a sudden he did. So I don't know that the Browns are out of it yet. It seems like it's trending that way, that the Steelers might end up with him. But to say that he, per se, didn't want to play here, I think we just need to be a little bit cautious about that.
I was asking Mike and Jason about this. When you look at it from a perspective, Mary Kay, you got a guy like Amari Cooper who is really, really a solid receiver, great in the locker room, very productive. If they do or were going to go after Brandon Aiyuk, how much better is Brandon Aiyuk than Amari Cooper in your opinion? And do you believe that the Browns think it's a massive upgrade, or is it just something that they're doing in order just to kick the tires a little bit to see if they can get a small upgrade in here?
It's really not necessarily an upgrade situation at all because Amari Cooper is obviously one of the best receivers in the NFL, and he's a 5-time Pro Bowler, and his statistics are better than Brandon Aiyuk's over the length of his career, obviously. So it's really not about upgrading the position. It's about long term. It's about having a young guy in his prime and paying him those big bucks as opposed to paying Amari Cooper whatever he's going to want when this season is over, or if they revisit an extension at some point during the season. The top receivers in the NFL are making close to $30 million a year. Do you want to pay that to a guy who's 31? Or do you want to invest that kind of money in a younger 26-year-old receiver? That's what it was about more so than any kind of an upgrade.
Mary Kay, do you think there's any sort of conversation that needs to be had or repairs made if this doesn't work, given that Amari's name has been thrown out there so often now in this? If he is back, is there any conversation that Kevin or AB need to have with him, or do you think it's just standard business and he knows the score by now?
Well, he does know the score by now, but by the same token, they will have that conversation with him. That's how they do business here. They had that conversation with him when he signed his restructuring. So that's what you do. He knows it's a business. He and Andrew Berry talked about the fact that this is not personal, that they had to do what they had to do. They had to find him. Then he had to hold out. So they know what it's all about. And I do think Amari will be able to set this aside and get back to playing great football, which is what he's always done throughout his entire career.
Mary Kay, you spent the entirety of training camp at the Greenbrier with the Browns. You're at every practice you're allowed to be at, and have seen as much Deshaun Watson throws in person this offseason as anyone in the world outside of a member of the Browns staff. So in your opinion, how has Deshaun's repaired right shoulder and arm looked so far throughout the part of training camp you've been able to witness?
At times it's looked great. At times he's looked like he's had all the accuracy and all the velocity and everything that he needs. Other times the passes have been a little bit off here and there. But I think that's what you want to expect from somebody coming off fractured shoulder surgery and torn labrum surgery. For anybody to expect that he was going to look perfect on every single throw, 8 months out of surgery in training camp when he's ramping up and trying to get his confidence back and trying to get his arm strength back, trying to get the stamina in the muscles and all of that back, then I think that was probably a little bit of folly to think that it was going to be perfect. So I think maybe we need to give him a little bit of grace on some of the throws that aren't exactly how he wants them to be. He's got 1 month to get ready for this season. And I think that he seems to be on pace to be ready to go against the Cowboys September 8th from everything that I can tell and see. And I just think that expecting perfection right now is a little bit too much.
Mary Kay, if Alex Wright had to step in right now and start at defensive end opposite of Myles Garrett, how do you think he'll fare?
Well, I think Alex will bump up in the rotation, but I think Obo Okoronkwo will be the next man up after Z. And of course, he's already part of the rotation. But I think that Alex is ready to take his game to the next level. He had 5 sacks last year. He's really been taking a whole lot of coaching from Myles Garrett, which I think is great. And I think both he and Isaiah McGuire are both ready to step up and show that they belong out there in this rotation and getting some reps.
Mary Kay, you talked about Deshaun Watson. I watch your weekly or daily wrap up from camp, and I was taking a look at that yesterday, and you said something that was very interesting. You talked about the last couple of days in the team period, it just hasn't looked very sharp, very crisp, and you were kind of surprised a little bit that they said that Jameis Winston is going to play, Deshaun's not going to play. I was sitting here talking to Jason, and I was like, well, next game they're going to be playing the inter squad scrimmages with another team, so chances are they probably won't play week 2. That sets us all to week, the preseason game number 3, in which they're playing Seattle, and I don't know how I feel about that, doing that on the road outside of those. But my point is, do you believe that he should have been playing? Were you a little, kind of scratching your head a little bit in terms of not putting him out there for a couple plays with the rest of the starters?
Actually, no, that didn't surprise me at all. I was not surprised by that. I never expected him to play in a preseason game until Seattle. We know he's not going to play against Minnesota. I never thought he would play in this first game. So not surprised by that. And I do think that he'll probably get plenty of good work against the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, this means that if they do play him in Seattle, he will only have had probably 2, maybe 3 series of work before he has to go out there and face the Dallas Cowboys. So he's going to have to make sure that he's getting everything that he needs in those joint practices and that the Browns defense is getting him ready to prepare for the season. One good thing about that for him is that when the Browns defenders are back out in full force, when you've got Myles out there and you've got Z and you've got Dalvin and Shelby and all of those guys coming after you, putting the heat on, Quentin Jefferson coming up the middle and from the edges, he should be pretty ready for the season. He should know how fast that ball has to come out and how quick it's going to have to get there and be on point when you've got Denzel and Martin Emerson and those guys in the back end. So he gets to work against one of the best defenses in the NFL. That's going to help him be battle tested because he really isn't going to get those live reps in the games very much.
I actually want to go back to Aiyuk for 1 second because you've covered this league. You know this league better than anybody. Number one, I don't believe the Steelers are going to pay a receiver $30 million. I don't think I was just trying to look it up real quick. I think Antonio Brown is the most money they've ever given a receiver. That was like $17 million average annual value. I'd be shocked if they did this deal and gave him $30 million. I'm wondering if you agree with that or if you think I'm wrong. And then secondly, the thing I asked yesterday was, I'm not following San Francisco's urgency on this on August 7th or 8th, whatever today's date is now. Why are they in such a rush to get clarity on this now? Is it just to get resolution on it? It just seems like they're almost like pushing this ahead, like telling them, go ahead, if you can find a better deal, go get it. I'm just a little bit curious at how aggressive the Niners seem to be on this.
Well, first of all, as far as the Steelers are concerned, if they hope to put forth a package that Brandon Aiyuk and his agent are going to accept, it's going to have to be close to $30 million a year. That's the whole reason why he's holding in right now, is because he wants the kind of money that everybody else is getting. There are 4 receivers right now that are north of $30 million. He wants something close to that, or a structure of a deal that is acceptable to him. Maybe it's front loaded so that he's making an average of $30 million in the first 3 years. And then beyond that, it's not as much, but he still makes that 30 for all intents and purposes in the early part of the deal. So there are different ways that you can structure it that would probably make him happy. And then as far as the 49ers are concerned, they have a disgruntled receiver holding in, not practicing, and holding back their offense right now. And they want to move on. It's a high-stakes season for the 49ers, just like it is for the Cleveland Browns and several other teams that hope to go out and win a Super Bowl. And if you have your number one receiver who had more than 1,300 yards last year, kind of being a distraction, holding in, being out on the sidelines and not practicing, it's not helping. I mean, it's time to almost start game planning. You have to be thinking about September 8th. You have to be thinking about your opener right now, and he's not even in uniform. So let's just say they were able to make the deal with the Cleveland Browns. You could plug Amari Cooper in tomorrow and be off to the races with him because he's so good at what he does. And I think that's what they want to do. They want to move forward. They know this isn't going anywhere. They're at a complete contract impasse, and they want to get over the hump.
So given what you know of the Steelers, can you envision them signing him to a $30 million deal, $30 million per year?
Well, the last time they paid a receiver that much, Antonio Brown, that you're talking about, I mean, the receiver market has absolutely exploded since then. And the numbers really sound high to us and astronomical and unfathomable in some cases. But that's the going rate nowadays. And even when Amari comes out next year, and when he hits free agency or tries to renegotiate with the Browns, he's going to have that number 30 in his mind. I don't know if he's going to get it, but that's what they're all aspiring to now, especially those younger guys. So I don't know if the Steelers are going to be able to pay it, but if they want to pull off the deal, they're probably going to have to come very close. We'll see if it actually happens, and you never know. That's why you can never say never until they sign on the dotted line, because things can fall through somewhere else, and it gives rise to another situation.
Speaking of young receivers, Mary Kay, every time we see videos from training camp, it seems like Cedric Tillman's out there making plays. I know he had an incredible 50-yard touchdown catch yesterday. It was more of a great route than a great catch, but 50-yard touchdown from, I think, Jameis Winston. Deshaun threw it. I think that was Deshaun. But has he jumped out in person as much as he's jumped out on some of these clips we get to see from social media in terms of making that sophomore year leap?
Yes, he really has looked really good. He's gotten behind the defense a number of times on those deep balls. I've probably seen him catch 6 of those already during this training camp. So you are seeing that. And the thing about Ced now is that he's really concentrating through the catch. He's looking it in. He's keeping his eyes on the ball. He's staying very focused. He's worked so much harder than he even did last year. He knows how to be a pro. And of course, he's learned some of that from Amari and some of the other guys here. But he really has elevated his game. And I think you're going to see a lot more of Ced this season. And, that might be another reason why they felt like possibly they could, if this was all the way that I believe it went down, that possibly they could let Amari go and bring in a Brandon Aiyuk, because they do have some emerging young receivers like Ced.
Mary Kay, what's up with Jed Wills? I ain't heard much from Jed. I think Jed Wills is one of the pieces that, he's a dude that you really don't hear too much about. But I think if he plays at a high level, it could really elevate what the Browns want to do, especially in the passing game, in his pass protection with Deshaun Watson. What's the update on Jed Wills? And do you think we'll see him this preseason in any preseason games?
Well, he's still on active, physically unable to perform. That's why we haven't heard anything about him yet, because he hasn't been able to practice yet. So James Hudson has still been out there at left tackle. And frankly, I don't know if Jed Wills is going to be able to start the season. We haven't seen him practice at all. And it's probably going to take him a little while to get himself back in the flow of things once he is able to get out there. So I don't know about him for the opener. You might end up having to see James Hudson, because we haven't seen Jack Conklin either. And Jack can move in over at the right tackle if need be, but he's not practicing yet either. So that situation is a little bit fluid, but they do feel good about James if it comes to that.
Right before we brought you on, we were talking about the quarterbacks, and I'm curious if you think they're going to carry 3, and if they do, why it'll be DTR. I'm joking, but I'm not. I think he makes the team. I've thought that all along, but I'm wondering, you know more than me. Do you think they carry 3, and is DTR ahead of Huntley right now, or did they bring Huntley here for a reason?
It's tough to say. I think that's a really intriguing battle as they go through these preseason games. And as I've been watching Tyler Huntley practice, he looks to me like a guy that you should find something for him to do on this football team. I think DTR is going to make it as the third quarterback if they keep 3. If not, if he happens to land on the practice squad, I guess they would probably take the risk of losing him in that scenario, and they really don't want to do that. He looks really good right now. But it just seems to me that there should be some kind of, or could be some kind of a role as some kind of a gadget player, special teams player, kickoff. Tyler Huntley is some kind of a weapon in my mind. And I don't know if anyone's really unlocked what he can really do for a football team. But when you have him in your building, I think you should explore every avenue to see if you can do some things with him that maybe people haven't tried yet.
Who is the sneaker on this team? Who's the quarterback sneaker? Because obviously it was Jacoby and then it was Harrison Bryant. They don't want to put Deshaun in that situation, it appears, up until this point. Now I think going forward, certainly they won't. Is it Jameis, or do you have to carry Tyler for that role? I don't know if Jameis has really done this much.
He's big, though.
He is big. And then obviously there's no Bryant. I'm just wondering, who's the sneaker this year?
We haven't seen it, so I don't know what they have up their sleeve in that regard. I guess Jameis could do it. I'm sure that Tyler could probably do it as well. And when I'm throwing this out there about Tyler, I don't necessarily believe that they will keep him around as sort of an all-purpose weapon for special teams, returns, whatever else he can do. Mm-hmm. A little bit of, some, I don't know if he can really catch the ball, but if he could catch the ball, I think he'd be interesting in the backfield as sort of maybe a little bit of a Deebo Samuel type of player. I don't know that they'll do it, but it's something that he's just so fast and just has so many different things that he can do. I'm just intrigued. And if they let him go, I feel like somebody else is going to figure it out.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I was thinking, I was trying to come up with the Saints. Who's the Saints guy?
Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill. Are you trying to describe Taysom Hill in a way?
Yeah, in a way, yes. Slash whatever, So again, I don't know if that's in the cards at all. I asked Kevin about that a couple of weeks ago. Would you keep him on the team? And I asked, as something other than a quarterback. I didn't mean not quarterback at all, but just in addition to that, could you find some things for him to do? And I don't know. I could be completely.
I'm sure he answered it thoroughly, right?
Of course he did. I was listening to Mike Tomlin's press conference today, and boy, it's a whole different world over there in terms of getting answers out of the coach.
You take it, you leave it. It's all the same. Mary Kay, we'll get you out of here on this one, but the twists and turns in the new stadium plans for the Browns have seemingly come to a conclusion. Northeast Ohio Transit Blog reported earlier this week that a new dome in Brook Park is the move. It'll cost the dome plus the development $3.6 billion. When you look at how this is all kind of played out, if that is, and the reporting is correct, if that is the final destination, a dome in Brook Park, what do you make of this entire saga that has led us to where we are at today?
Well, it just seems like it took a turn at some point. It really felt to me like everything was renovation. I go to those owners' meetings and talk to the Haslams about it. And, even at this time last year in March, it was all about renovation. That was the plan. That's where they were going. And it was full steam ahead with that. And then at some point, the tide turned and the dome became what seems to me now like more of a preferred option to them. They haven't said that yet, but that seems the way that it's headed. So things changed. They got the opportunity to purchase this land, and they saw the wisdom in trying to build this complex, not just a stadium, but a whole community and business enterprise out there. And I think that they want some of what's going on in some of these other cities. Now, of course, it's a matter of trying to figure out a way to make it happen and to pay for it, but it seems like that's what they really want.
I think it was all posturing I think this was the plan from the start. I think it was all posturing to make it look like they've exhausted every option to try and garner some goodwill, but I think this was their plan from the start, was a dome.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know if that's the case, just because, I've been shown renderings of the renovation and talked to people about the renovation all along. And it really did seem like that's what they were going to do. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes in the chess match of stadium building, but I don't know. It seems to me that it took a turn at some point, and the turn arrived at Brook Park.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mary Kay, thank you so much for spending some time with us today here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Make sure to follow Mary Kay on Twitter, read her work at cleveland.com, and we'll talk to you soon, Mary Kay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Kay.
Thank you. Take care.
Awesome. Cedric Tillman's the guy that's popped off the screen. As she mentioned, there are a few more that have continued to pop off. Tyler Huntley was not on my bingo card of players Mary Kay was going to tell us to
I was surprised
keep
by
an
that.
eye on.
I was a little surprised by that.
Mm-hmm. Especially if Zach was telling you that DTR was stealing the show as the
In terms of the throws, she's talking about using them in a much different
Just
in a different way.
Just different capacity.
Zach thought that DTR was out throwing Tyler, but she was talking about using them in returns and out of the backfield and a little bit of everything.
Taysom. I mean, Deebo Samuel is the weapon of all weapons. I never in a million years thought we would ever hear on this program Deebo Samuel be compared to Tyler Huntley, or Tyler Huntley be asked to be used in the role that Deebo is used in the San Francisco offense. So Mary Kay's onto something, then the Browns got a weapon.
Well, I do think that the Browns like to get creative. We've seen that out of Kevin.
That's the one thing I do like. They get gadget plays. It's a catch-22 in Cleveland.
You hate when they don't work, G. No one works harder than you. Hold on.
Hey.
When these don't work, nobody comes in and is more hot about it than you.
Hey, when they don't work, that's part of the game.
Clip this. I want to play back for G.
Yeah.
Next time that they run a gadget play that doesn't work, I want to play.
7:54 a.m. Jason, I got you.
Now you do a reverse throwback pass with Jacoby Brissett when he came cold off the bench. I don't know.
On 4th and 1.
On 4th and 1, that's wild. Like, come on, bro. But all the other, listen, I like some of his stuff.
The Amari Cooper interception.
Oh,
even Kevin said as soon as that ball was in the air, he thought, "Oh, what are you doing?"
Amari
Elijah Moore reverses last year.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
Listen.
When's the last gadget? The last gadget play that worked that I could think of right now, top of my head, was the fake sneak Harrison Bryant pitched to Kareem Hunt that led to a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I've heard so far that during camp, it's been a lot of RPOs, a lot of wide receivers in motion, things that we really didn't see last year. But, last year was a lot of talk about the gadget plays and Elijah Moore being used in all these different roles. Well, that hasn't been the case. From everybody that's been at camp, I've been told that it's been little to no gadget plays being installed. Just a lot more motion and RPOs.
But also, they're not
showing you that.
They're not going to show that when we're standing there.
And then we had to find out that Elijah Moore was not that. They tried to he looked like he should be Percy Harvin. He looked like, okay, well, maybe he got that Deebo Samuel gene. No, he doesn't. We found out, he does not have vision like that, and he's not running past nobody.
And first off, Deebo's built like a running back. Elijah Moore is a relatively normal sized, if not on the smaller side of receivers.
He's small.
Yeah,
Deebo's built like a freaking tank. To think that Elijah Moore's body could withstand the toll that Deebo's did based off the hits he was taking because of his carries, the screens, the jet sweeps, that was never feasible in my mind.
It's wearing on him right now. He had another concussion. They ain't even been hitting like that. You know what I'm saying? That's not a role you want.
He's had 2 legit concussions and 2 concussion protocol appearances that did not result in actual concussions. So that's something we're going to have to monitor throughout the season.
Yeah.
Speaking of trick plays in camp, Earl, can I tell you a story about when I was covering high school football in Texas real quick?
Of course.
I was covering the Franklin Lions, who won 3 state championships when I was there.
Lions.
Dominant. They won 36 straight games. A couple of dudes playing D1 football now. Coach Fannin, my guy. What's up, Coach?
Where was that? Where was that school? Where is it?
In Franklin, Texas.
But what's that near?
It's 3A.
Okay.
It's not the big.
Because I actually know a lot of the Texas high schools.
It's 3A football. They run the wing tee. They throw 1 pass a game.
All right, never mind.
Is this North Texas?
It's central. It's in between Austin and College Station.
Okay.
So They got their starting running back that is at Baylor now. Their quarterback, whatever. They had some athletes.
Yeah.
They ran the wing tee and the triple option. They did not throw the ball whatsoever. As they were going for their second straight state championship, I went up to do like a preview story on them. I was real tight with the coach. We covered them closely because they won every game. And he looked at me in the eyes and goes, Mike, we're about to practice a halfback throw. If there's a semblance of this on the video, you're losing all access to it. I will never talk to you again. Like, he let me come in. I got to sit in the locker room. I got to go through film. He's like, if this trick play that we're putting in for this game, state championship, gets on film in even the slightest capacity, you're done. So, of course, I didn't put it on. They win that game by 7 points. What was the winning touchdown? The halfback pass
throw.
they put in. Fourth quarter, 3rd and 6, called it to perfection. And as soon as they did it, he didn't look at me after, but in my head, I'm like, Coach Fannon's definitely looking for me on the sidelines. Like, I told you this was going to work. So that's why you don't see those gadget plays in practice.
I thought you was going to troll and be like, you know what I did? I put that right on tape. Got picked off in the end zone.
That would have been funny, but a lot less more,
right.
a lot worse of an outcome. They ended up winning, so kudos to them.